The Lord be with you.
and with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark.
Glory to you, O Lord.
The disciples of John and of the Pharisees were accustomed to fast. People came to Jesus and objected. Why do the disciples of John and the disciples of the Pharisees fast, but your disciples do not fast? Jesus answered them, Can the wedding guests fast while the bridegroom is with them? As long as they have the bridegroom with them, they cannot fast. But the days will come when the bridegroom is taken away from them, and then they will fast on that day. No one sews a piece of unshrunken cloth on an old cloak. If he does, its fullness pulls away the new from the old, and the tear gets worse. Likewise, no one pours new wine into old wineskins. Otherwise, the wine will burst the skins, and both the wine and the skins are ruined. Rather, new wine is poured into fresh wineskins. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Dear brothers and sisters, good morning.
Good morning, Father.
Among the important practices that the Jews were asked to do as part of their religion is fasting. There are actually three of these: fasting, prayer, and almsgiving. These are known to be the pillars of their faith. We have adopted that in our faith as Christians. This is the gospel from Mark chapter 2, verses 18 to 20. The question of fasting. Ano po yung tanong? Bakit yung mga alagad mo ay hindi nag-aayuno? They do not fast. Whereas the disciples of John, the disciples of the Pharisees do fast. And the answer of the Lord is quite tricky. And it brought them to understand that when the bridegroom in the wedding banquet is still with them, you do not show sadness. You do not hold on to the food that are prepared or to the drinks. You celebrate with great joy, with gusto, that's the term used. Talagang bigay na bigay ang celebration, as long as the bridegroom is with them. And the Lord talks about himself. He is referring himself to be the bridegroom. And when this bridegroom is gone, that's the time when they can do some fasting or acts of sacrifice and penance. So we focus today on fasting and all other religious practices that are important. The intention is something that we should look into. Bakit ba ako gumagawa nito? Bakit ako nagdadasal? Bakit ako nag-aayuno? Bakit ako naglilimos? Nagbibigay ng abulay? The intention, the intent, or the motivation is something that we have to examine. And the intention should be because that's one way by which I could get closer to God. So that's the intention. That's the focus. It is not because I want to impress people. Para makita nila na ako pala ay paladasal, ako pala ay nagsasakripisyo, ako pala ay may disiplina sa sarili, ako pala ay mabuting tao dahil ako ay nagbibigay ng limos. So this is something that we can examine during this time. And we know that among the important practices that even Jesus himself did this, he also fasted. If we remember, how many days did he fast before he emerged in order to begin his ministry? He was in the desert 40 days and 40 nights. Ang haba nito. So the Lord knows what fasting is all about, because fasting really means depriving ourselves of a basic necessity in life, which is food. But for some others, fasting had been used to show the rebellion or their anger against a system. I remember the late Senator Aquino, when he was imprisoned by the late Ferdinand Marcos at the height of the martial law, at the beginning rather, he fasted. And it resulted into him losing weight and he got sick. So pinalabas siya sa kulungan. But that is not our intention when we come to our faith. Because even Gandhi, the great Indian leader who founded India and who liberated his people from the British, he had been constantly fasting. Fasting, by the way, is not our own discipline alone. We share that with the Muslims. They do fast. They have 1 month. At daytime, during Ramadan, di sila kumakain. But they would eat later. Yung mga Jews, they do fast. And this is known to them as days of atonement, days of reparation from sins. Katumbas yan halos ng ating Lenten season. So, it is not, even the Buddhists do fasts. So, hindi lang ho atin ito. But let's focus on what is essential and what should be remembered and what should be reminded of ourselves. When you do it, ano po ang intention natin? It is meant for me to discipline my life, and in so doing, by depriving myself of something essential, which is food, and even drink. But the real reason for fasting really is for me to really be in deep relationship with God. I deprive myself of this. But the greater fastings, as I see it, my dear brothers and sisters, yung pinakamatinding pag-aayuno really is against sin. We refrain from hurting one another. We refrain from indulging into idle talks, etc., etc. Rather, discipline ourselves. Napakahirap kasing disiplinahin yung ating sarili. But we all know that this helps. And we know that even saints do practice this. I'm told in the hidden life of the late Pope John Paul II, he would do this so often. And that's something that we could emulate. But fasting is not for everyone. It is meant for those who can really do it. And I hope that we can make every effort to fast. Not just food, but doing evil. And that's what the real meaning of fasting is, to bring us closer to the Lord, but cleansing us of things that need to be cleansed because we have made efforts to do so. Jesus, the divine healer,
Have mercy on us.